Greetings, I'm Skol, and this is the Rosecraft Snake Creek Copperhead. And isn't that nice? This is probably the best knife that Rosecraft has produced, and we'll go over all that. But first, it's got a nice Warncliffe blade. This is the Copperhead pattern. Nice long pull with a swedge. It's 14C28N steel, which is highly corrosion resistant and very tough steel in the toughness category. You got two stainless steel bolsters and the signature Andy Armstrong squared off end. You got a rosebud bomb shield. On both patterns have the same shield. This is the smooth bone version, and then this is called the Dapper jigged bone version. So same knife but different covers, and we'll get into that. But let's look at the details real quick. So we got one flute on the bolster there. You have nice smooth fit finish. Everything's done very nicely, and then when you look in the corners, the bone fits very nicely into the corners. Good fit. And back here in the corners, perfect. So every Rosecraft you get, they're always very high quality, and for the value, probably best value on the market for traditional pocket knives. And then look at that nice rich color, blue bone, and then down in the channel, Rosecraft does do stop pins, so in the closed position you won't get any blade wrap. And then let's look here at the details. That's the maker's mark with the crossbones to make an A for Andy Armstrong. And then 14C28N, and then it's got the model number. And this is the vibrant blue bone version. Or vintage. It's vintage blue bone, BBB. And then you got a stamp on this side. So that's stamped in Rosecraft. And on this side, it's actually a laser etch there on the Ricasso. But very nice fit and finish. Let's do the stats real quick. We'll do the walk and talk. So here for blade length, we got 3 inches, and for cutting edge, 2 3/4 inches. That might be slightly over that. Let's call it 2.8 inches. And then your overall length, tip to heel, 6 7/8, we'll say 6 7/8 inches. And then your handle length is 3 3/4, but where you actually put your fingers, 3 1/4. And let's check our grip. So 3 1/4 is usually around the minimum, but you can see I wear large size gloves and I'm getting full 4 fingers, no problem. That feels nice all around. The smooth blue bone is a little bit thinner, so you can see you get a thicker slab of bone on the jigged, and that's because when they go in with those grooves, you don't want to do that on a thinner bone, so they make it thicker and then they can add the jigging. So there was the smooth bone. So let's look here at the Dapper. This is called the Dapper jig bone pattern. So what's really nice about this, and maybe the nicest, most complex bone pattern, first of all, you get the color changes from white to tan to darker brown, and then you've got jigged bone, but then on top of your jigged bone, then they put in these long grooves, and then they put the dark color down in there. So you get a whole bunch of color complexity, and you get jigged bone, and then with the big grooves, so you get jigging complexity, and it all comes together for a very nice effect. So that is very nice bone jigging. And then a little bit thicker, so it fills up your hand more. This one doesn't feel blocky like the, here I'll compare to another Rosecraft. Here was their last model that came out that was a hot seller. So Rosecraft 2 in a row had huge hot sellers. This one felt a little bit blocky. You can see maybe it's a little bit thicker, but that's a nice red bone. Let's line these up. So here's Rosecraft. That's another Andy Armstrong design. Hot seller, and those are sold out. I think they sold out on the day they came out. So I kind of expected this one, the new one, to do as good or better, or maybe they made more. But at traditional pocket knives, these did sell out in like 30 minutes, under 30 minutes. And then now it's been a few days. I did a little spot check. Several other dealers have sold out. But if you want the Snake Creek Copperhead, it is still available. Today's Easter 2026. And I spot checked until I found them in stock. So I saw TSAKnives.com. That dealer has the Blue Bone version still in stock. And then I also found at KnifeCenter.com, they had the Dapper version. So today, if you see this video on Easter, you can still get these available. But the last of it's selling out quick. This is a very popular pattern and probably the best knife that Rosecraft's ever produced. So if you want to grab one, you got to do it quick. And then since it's Easter, I put my Dom Toretto from the Fast and Furious franchise. He always had that cross. It was featured prominently in the big Fast and Furious. They're up to like 11 or 12 movies. I think they have one more, and then they're going to finally close it out, or maybe not. But anyway, that's the Dom Toretto cross, and put that out for Easter. It's got little diamond studs. That's just a replica. Those probably aren't real diamonds. I don't know. It wasn't that expensive. But anyway, I drive a Dodge Charger just like Dom Toretto does. So I like to put on a black t-shirt and put that cross on and drive my black Dodge Charger, and then I would be Dom Toretto out there. Vin Diesel, played by Vin Diesel. Anyway, let's back to the knife. So happy Easter to you. And so we got the Snake Creek Copperhead by Rosecraft, probably the best knife they've ever produced. And that doesn't mean it's still my favorite knife they produced, because I actually thought about it. Here was my old favorite. This is the Elk Creek Easy Open Jack with the skull shield. And I did consider it. I would say this is the best knife they produced, but I still think this is my favorite, and the deciding factor is the skull shield. So Wharncliffe blades are my favorite pattern on pocket knives, and that was invented by Lord Wharncliffe of England. He was dissatisfied with the knives available at the time, so he invented this new pattern, and then it got named after him, the Wharncliffe pattern, which is usually a long straight edge, and then you have this long downward swoop to the drop down to the tip. So this is a very typical traditional Wharncliffe pattern, not modified. Sometimes you get some knives will have a little swoop up and they'll call it a modified Wharncliffe. Well, this is a true Wharncliffe on the Copperhead pattern. And then this is called a lamb's foot, which is similar to a sheep's foot, but it also has a distal taper, which means it starts out thick and gets thinner to the edge. So this is a lamb's foot. And I'd say this is about a tie. I like both of these blade shapes. And so what made it still be my favorite is the skull shield. But I also considered they had other knives with skull shields, which aren't my favorite. So it's not just the skull shield. It's the combo of great blade shape plus the skull shield. This is still my favorite. So if they made something like a knife with red jig bone and a skull shield and a Wharncliffe, that could still become my new favorite. But for now, this one's still my favorite. And let's do another comparison to another Copperhead pattern. So here's a case copper lock. So you can see that the pattern is very similar with a Wharncliffe blade and the bolster somewhat similar. So this is your typical Copperhead pattern, but on the case knife they added a backlock. So they took Copperhead, added a backlock, and this is called a copper lock. And I believe this is the full-size copper lock. They also make a smaller version called the mini copper lock. But here's a nice smooth white bone, and it is thinner than the Rosecraft. So the Rosecraft, you can see, will fill up, especially the thicker jig bone, will fill up your hand a little bit more. But the size is pretty similar. Maybe because of the rounding, just a tad longer. Those blades, when I line up the heel, those are pretty similar. 3-inch blades on all of them. The handle might be, it looks like it's longer on the case. And do one more size comparison. Here's a typical highly collected Sodbuster Junior from Case. So just to see the size comparison. But I already showed you can get your 4-finger grip on these no problem, and the thicker jig bone does fill up your hand just a tad more. So very nice grip, feels good all around, good size, good pattern, and good steel choices, beautiful bone. Let's do the walk and talk. We haven't done that yet, or actually let's do the weight. Let's finish the stats since we already measured, and we got 2.72 ounces on the blue bone and 2.83, so a little bit heavier because of the thicker bone. And I wonder if the shield might come up slightly higher too. And let's do our stock thickness, which I believe is 0.10, but we'll double check it. 0.10 inches. I'm getting 0.105, and check it down here, 0.103, so inches, and they should be the same. Yep, 0.105, and getting 0.101 there. So 0.10 inches is okay for a slip joint that's under 3 inches total length. I'm good with that. Good steel. Everything's good about this. I don't have anything negative to say about it. There's no defects. The fit and finish, and I'll show you that on the Dapper pattern. In the corners, good fit and finish. Everything's smooth, nicely sanded, good termination. There in the corner, perfect fit, and up here, perfect fit. Same deal on the Ricassos. You got Andy Armstrong, 14C28N model number, and your Rosecraft stamp on that side. Long pull is only on one side, and you got your swedge. So beautiful Copperhead pattern, best knife Rosecraft has ever produced. Won't be able to find them anywhere soon, so if you want it, go get it. Although I'm sure Andy is not opposed to bringing back a pattern that's popular, so probably come back, but have different covers if you wait. Maybe next year it'll come back, so we'll see. And we got to do the walk and talk. So here we got, I'll call that a 6. Good snap. That was a 6. 6 out of 10. And 6 out of 10. I'm giving that a 6. Good walk and talk. Let's try it on that one. On the Dapper, should be the same. Same knife, different covers. 6. And I'm just pinching it there. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of skin into the long pull, but that was a 6 and a 6. 6 out of 10 all the way around. That's what it feels like to me. And I'll show you my slips. So I actually got a blue. These are C. Reisner from traditionalpocketknives.com. Their slips are the best, thick Botero, and got the brown one for the Dapper bone. That looks nice. Actually, this color was called olive, so the olive color, but it looks kind of brownish. But it does have a greenish tinge to laces. So that's the olive. And then this slip I had been using for another knife. It's a lot thinner. You can see the difference. So one of the reasons the traditional pocket knife slips at C. Reisner are so good, they're thick enough where you can never get them jammed. They're in there tightly, but when you give it a squeeze, it causes it to buckle open. So then you can always get your knife out easy, in and out easy. So that's why these are a great design, very functional and high quality. But this one from a different brand, I was having trouble because it was so thin. The knife I was putting in there just wouldn't come out too easy. It was a little bit too thick, so this just wasn't working. But then I tried this knife in there, and it goes in easy. So now I've got a better fit here. So I'm gonna rock this blue one, which is a very nice slip, but it's a better fit now, and now I can get it in easy. I'm done with the frustration I was having before with the other knife. So this is a nice package here for the blue one. So there you go, and this is a 1931 leather. You can go find them online. It's got the Frankenstein logo, and then I added this blue lanyard. That's a nice package. And then the C. Reisner ones are always real nice, especially when you get a thick Botero that they're doing on all the new ones. So very nice leather slips for these. I don't think I have anything else to say. I think we covered it all. We did the stats, walk and talk. Everything's great. Go get one while they're still available today on Easter. Happy Easter to you. And health and happiness to you. Thanks for stopping by. Go check out my other videos and have a nice day.